What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Unknown Coatings channel. Got another first for the channel today, and we are doing a chassis from a car. Actually, I have no idea what car it is. It's been modified, but let's get into the video. Alright, so we got this thing all sandblasted, all done with red garnet. I realized that I haven't really shown any of the blasting stuff in these videos. I don't know if you guys missed that or anything. I know a lot of people thought it was pretty satisfying, but maybe in the next couple videos I'll show some of the sandblasting. But you can see this thing's been blasted inside and out. We're going to try to get powder deep into all of these holes as best we can. And so right here I'm just blowing it all off, trying to get all the sand out. As you can imagine, in a chassis like this, especially one that's been boxed in, there is a ton of loose sand. And I spend most of my time blowing it from the top down, trying to get it out the ends. And then once it drops down across the different parts of the chassis, then I start on the lower part doing the exact same thing. And here I am just sliding it into the booth. Rolls pretty easy on this rack despite being an entire chassis, so that's nice. And then we'll be coating with BK26 with the Cardinal powder, spraying with the Gema Optiflex Pro on program 1 for the initial coat. Now, a lot of people are going to say, why aren't you priming this? And I actually said the same thing. Customer did not want it primed. Not entirely sure why. So I'm going to be throwing powder as far down into these rails and everywhere as best I can. We're actually going to 2-coat this with the silver vein, which is the BK26 from Cardinal. And you'll see kind of throughout this, I'm definitely working to get powder into all of these crevices. Sticking the tip of the gun down and spraying, moving it all around. Basically, I want to eliminate as much chance for rust as humanly possible, being that we're not doing a primer on it. I know in one of the last videos, I think the garden furniture video, some Muppet was on there complaining that I didn't prime it. Didn't fill a bunch of the holes, didn't do other things. Completely missing the fact that that's not what the customer asked for. The customer was given all sorts of options, and that's what they chose, is what we did. So, as much as I can appreciate some of the comments on YouTube, a lot of these, so-called experts on here get a little out of hand. I did end up speeding up most of this video. You'll actually see some time lapse here in a bit, just because can't imagine you guys want to hear me talk through. I don't know, I think the total recorded time on this was like 42 minutes of footage or something like that. But you can see I'm working to make sure that powder is deep into every single corner on this. The back of this is a little more open. I don't have to spray down into any weird holes or crevices or anything. So ultimately not too bad. And then this is just the transmission cross member. This actually looked like a modified stock cross member, but then it also is set up to be bolted in. Not really sure. Like I said, I don't know what car this is, and ultimately I'm never going to see it, with a body or anything on it, so I guess I'll probably never figure out what it is. I'll try to remember to ask the customer. One thing you want to remember with a powder like this especially being a silver vein, is you want to make sure that you get a good solid coat of powder on here. Any thin spots are going to be really, really obvious with this particular color. As I said before, we're actually going to be doing 2 coats of this. Do that for a couple different reasons. One of them being in pitted areas on steel, when you put a texture or river finish or a wrinkle or vein, a lot of times when it's in the pitting, it doesn't wrinkle up or do the vein or whatever it's supposed to be doing as it goes through the oven. 2 coats of that will definitely fix that problem. As you can see, I'm now in time lapse blazing through this thing, and if you watched, I guess you'd have to skip back from where I'm at now, but on the underside of the chassis that's close to the ground, I guess you'll see it coming up here now. I can't get down low enough and hold the gun and also look up and make sure that I'm getting good coverage. So what I end up doing is just counting strokes On each side of this chassis, I did 6 strokes, aiming the gun up at the bottom side of the chassis. So, 12 theoretical strokes of powder, just to make sure I got good coverage. You'll see at the end of this, ended up, of course, getting great coverage, but don't limit yourself. If you think that you can't get your head up to see exactly what you want, just make sure you're counting your strokes. That way you'll end up getting you should end up getting a good even coat. And as always, your friendly reminder to like this video, and if you like more content, want to see more content like this, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on all the notifications. And this is me, of course, continuing to be pumped up. I dance, or I don't know if I'd call it dancing at work. I'm definitely moving far more than I need to do this job. So we'll kind of limit its terminology as far as dancing, because it's not what it is. But I'm definitely out there shaking it, if you know what I'm saying. So now that this has been flowed out, I actually had it in the oven to flow out the full chassis, and then added about 4 minutes to that. Pulled it out, let it cool all down below 150. As you can see, the finish for the most part is even. You can see right here in this area, it is not even, and that's not a lack of powder. That's the pitting that I was talking about before. It just doesn't let the powder kind of do the things that it needs to do as far as wrinkling up or creating the texture. So we go ahead, like I said, once the temperature is below 150 on the chassis, go ahead and do a whole nother coat on this with Program 2, of course, on the Optiflex Pro. Now you can see I'm going around to make sure in all the corners, using my LED light. This is like a must-have for coating, by the way. If you don't have an LED light in your booth, you are definitely messing up. So this is it. This is after it's been cured. This is before the clear coat. We're going to be doing a Cardinal CL01 over top of this. But you can see the finish is nice and even everywhere. Pitting or no pitting, the finish is perfect. All the crevasses, all the weird little corners and cutouts ends up being absolutely perfect. I was stoked how this came out. I was a little worried about the side of the chassis that is the frame rail of the chassis that's facing down close to the ground. It ended up being perfect. You can see I got powder way down in each one of these frame rails. This is the front, like, I don't know if it's a cross member on the front, but you can see this powder and all that. And then got it back into the booth to start doing the CL01, which is just the standard gloss clear from Cardinal. And you can see even in the time lapse, a lot of movement from me. This is the thing that I was talking about before, where it's not dancing, but something along those lines. A lot of up and down, trying to make sure that I get good coverage on all this. One of the hard things with chassis is just there's so many different angles and little openings and crevices that you have to make sure to get powder into. So I end up going over this twice, not powder coating it twice with the clear, but just going over everything to make sure that I got it. I'll check it from multiple angles usually, and then of course grab the LED flashlight. And then this is the little cross member for the transmission. This is I think the last. I think I already powder coated the entire chassis at this point. I don't know why I slowed down and included this, but you get the idea. Just more clear on some silver vein. We roll it out of the booth and go to slap it in the oven here. This takes obviously a good amount of time in the oven. This oven is 16 feet deep, which is perfect. I mean, this chassis I think was like 15.2 or something along those lines. So as you can guess, being steel, it takes a good while in the oven. But once it comes out, it was perfect. It was literally flawless. Looked all around this thing trying to find something wrong. I don't love the finish, obviously. It's not my chassis, so I don't have to love the finish, of course. But I've never really done silver vein on the channel. I've definitely never done a chassis on the channel, so it was a great opportunity to kind of show this process or show anybody else that wants to see. I know a lot of my standard people on this channel kind of love the custom stuff and cool colors. This isn't obviously a great color, but most of the time when I'm doing chassis, I'm doing them in, like a satin black or a matte black. So this is at least a little bit adventurous. I'm told this is a full show car. I don't know, like I said, much about it, but we got it all wrapped up for the customer, and I'll ask him what it is when he picks it up. Thanks, guys.